Hello people, welcome to the Creator of Bricks, and today I have a review for the DC Multiverse Collector's Edition Guy Gardner. Got this in the mail about 2 days ago. I've been sitting on it for a little bit and I thought I would get on the review for it. So yeah, let's get into it. So to start out with Guy Gardner, he's always been one of my least favorite Green Lanterns. Out of just every Green Lantern, he's not always been my favorite. He's too much of a...
He's an asshole, sir.
I know that. What's his name?
That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole.
Just not a character I've always been a big fan of. I've been liking him the more I've read of him. I've started to get into the New 52 a little bit with Guy Gardner, because I've read Rebirth through the early New 52 so far, and I have been liking the characterization with him. But if you look at early Guy Gardner, he's a bit of an asshole, like a really unlikable asshole, like in the 90s. I remember him just being a complete asshole. And he's just never been one of my favorite characters. I think this figure is pretty good though. The stuff he comes with is pretty neat. This kind of smiling smirk head sculpt that fits Guy Gardner a lot. You get this straight-faced head sculpt. This is a more controversial head, the kind of screaming, what I call battle, like going into battle look. This reminds me of how they would draw him when he's going into battle with like the Sinestro Corps and stuff. That's what it reminds me of. It is a bit of a goofy head, but I think it fits how Guy acts, and yeah, I don't think it's a bad head sculpt on that front. Now, would I have this on display with him regularly? No, but I think it's a fun inclusion for a head sculpt. You also get this pointing finger hand with the ring painted on there. You get an open hand, and you get two fists, and on the figure you have two gripping hands as well. One with the ring on there and one without. You also do get this power battery, which is the tiniest McFarlane Green Lantern power battery. Actually, most of the time they're like this big, instead of being like this. Still not painted in a metallic color. I would prefer if McFarlane either started doing just a plain green instead of translucent green, or my most preferred would be a metallic green power battery for the color. Something I forgot to mention was he does come with his, I like to call his modern fade. You can see that he comes with this bowl cut that is his classic look, and then you have the fade right here. Get the card. I believe this art is by Ivan Reyes, I believe is who did this art. I'm not sure, but I believe this is Ivan Reyes. Here's what he looks like without all the extra extra pieces on the head. No face and no hair. It's a scary sight. All you see is his tongue. That's the only thing that's left, is his tongue for the angry head. It's a little weird, nice little Cyclops look. So here's Guy with the fade, as I call it. I prefer this hair because I prefer how Guy is a character when he has this hair. This is the more modern hair, which you see on the box. He has that fade going on that kind of puffs up at the front here. But yeah, this is a much preferred hairstyle for me. I am a fan of the bowl cut, but like I said earlier, he was just too much of a dick at the time, and I just have a negative association with the bowl cut. But he is a character I did love to hate as a time back then in the 80s and 90s with how he was at the time. It's not my preferred hairstyle. Plus this hairstyle, I like the characterization, and it just looks better. I do like that they did make this attempt to include both looks, so they wouldn't have to make a platinum version of Guy Gardner with the modern look. I think that was a very smart thing to do. And I'm curious to see if they'll start doing this with a couple characters that have kind of something similar. I would have to think about what character has like that sort of thing where their hair changes and like their costume stays the same. But yeah, I think that's a very fun idea to have the different wigs. That is a cool idea. With these faceplates, I'm not a big fan of how the line is. If they just did it slightly differently, where the ear was attached to this, I think it would have worked better. But with how it is, where the ear stays in place, it kind of is awkward. It's, with the Simon Baz that they released, the New 52 Simon Baz, which I will bring out here. So why that works is because this is a mask, and it kind of leans into how the mask is a little bit. I never did a review of this figure, but the way this one just forms a little bit better, you still get that line right there, but for the most part it blends into the actual design of the mask, and it's not a human face, so you don't have that weird thing going on. But like, if you look at it most of the time, you're not going to notice it. Like if it was just like right there, cheek is where you notice it. But if you didn't have that cheek part right there, you wouldn't notice. That's why this works better, because it's a mask of it being just a human head. And this could have worked too a little bit better if they just did it with the ear, I think, because I think that would just completely eliminated the problem a little bit of having even just a discolored ear. If you look at it, you can tell the ear and the actual face are different. It looks a little bit more close because of how my lighting is, but you can see that's a light pink color versus kind of like a darker tan color right there. So that just doesn't work. But most of the time I don't notice that because I'm looking at it from the front. But another problem that this faceplate causes is you get this line at the hairline. Now, it's not as bad on the bowl cut. See, that line is eliminated when you have the bowl cut on, but it's still an issue at the side. I just wish that they were able to eliminate that line somehow right there. It's just kind of an awkward thing. And especially on this head sculpt creates a big crack in the side of the head. This one isn't as bad. It still has that line there. This smiling head, this is the one that sticks on the least, or it doesn't want to stay on to the actual head. The angry head isn't bad either. This one actually likes to stay on. See, it's a goofy head, but I think it works for Guy. You know, just to me it feels like a Guy Gardner kind of head sculpt, like he's laughing at somebody or something. Like I was saying, it's a fun idea. I think they could have really done a better job in terms of the execution though, especially with the fade. But I am thankful that they did do this though, but I do think there could have been some better execution here. With the articulation, you get this much upward movement with the head, which is pretty good. Not a bad upward movement at all. Down is not really at all. You can't really go down with his head at all. The ab crunch is almost non-existent. If you really push it, you can get a little bit. Backwards is also restricted, and this has something I'll mention later. I'm going to talk about that later. The legs, you get splits like that. Twist, you don't get any twist here at all. Double jointed knees work really well. Ankles, spin 360. They go up and down, up that much, down that much, and then they pivot. And then you get the fancy dancy toe articulation that I really like. For the arms, you can do a almost full T-pose. Have the bicep swivel like that. Double jointed elbows. The wrists, you go back that much and then up that much. So not the best. You can swivel 360. So pretty well articulate. As expected, the abs really use some more articulation, but it does service the character look having the one-piece jacket. So I do understand, and what I am going to mention real quick, this is a reuse of another Green Lantern, not one you would expect though. It's a reuse of Alan Scott Green Lantern, which is an interesting reuse, which you can tell it's that body specifically because the belt is still here, and I will actually get to Alan Scott to bring over here. But yeah, here's the Alan Scott next to him. It's not an easy catch to tell that they're reuse because they do cut out very different silhouettes, and there's a good amount of resculpting on the Gardner for the parts that they didn't reuse. So, for example, you can see that the torso is different, and then they resculpted the wrists. The biceps and shoulders are the same though. And then if you look at the thighs, they are also the same, and it is the same per piece. And then they did resculpt the boots. They did keep the knees. So there's a good amount of reuse, but they did resculpt it enough to where you can't notice.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Or, well, not that you can't notice, it's just less noticeable, and it's different enough that it's not something that sticks out immediately as being, hey, that's Alan Scott. They just repainted that. No, they did some new sculpting for this, which is nice. Stuff I would have appreciated coming with this, though, would have been some power effects like that came with the Collector's Edition Green Lantern that they released last year. So, like, things like the shield and, like, the sword. This is from Kyle Rayner. Like a power battery, or not power battery, a power effect kind of hand like this would have been cool. Maybe like a power blast. This is like this is Starfire / Blights, Batman Beyond Wave, or like even Simon Baz's kind of drill piece here. The Ganthet hand could have been a cool throw in. something like this would have been cool. They did give enough accessories to where I'm not completely unsatisfied, but I would have liked some other accessory, like power accessories thrown in, or even like this minigun from Jon Stewart. So speaking of the collector's edition Green Lantern, here is my customized collector's edition Green Lantern for Hal Jordan. I put Hal Jordan's head on there and I painted it in a metallic green. I'm mostly happy with this now. I'm still not happy with how my mask turned out. Digital Green Lantern is one of my least favorite, or well, maybe not least favorite, but my most disappointing Green Lantern / DC Multiverse figures. That figure very much disappointed me. It wasn't awful or anything, but it was just a figure I had higher expectations for, and it kind of disappointed me. So that's why I made this custom. Here he is next to Kilowatt. This is a character he's pretty close with, and I very much enjoyed these two in the Green Lantern Corps book. Here he is with Jon Stewart from the JLA wave. Here he is with the 2-pack Kyle Rayner that came with Kilowog. Here he is with Simon Baz Green Lantern. I hope that before the DC Multiverse line ends, we get a Jessica Cruz, so we complete the full set of Human Lanterns, but I don't know how likely that is to happen. And then here he is with the gold label Walmart exclusive Green Lantern. Here he is with my custom Avon Sur using the Green Lantern digital here. I swapped the heads from the collector's edition and put them on here because I feel like this is a better representation of Avon Sur to me. I kind of like this look better. Here he is with the Lord of the Red Lanterns, Lord Atrocitus. Here he is with the Necron Mega Figure. Here he is with the Sinestro Collector's Edition. And then here he is with the person that knocked his ass out. My final thoughts on this figure are, I think they were very bold in how they experimented with this figure. I do appreciate how they experimented with this guy, but I do think it kind of fell short, but I do really respect the experimentation that was done here. And the articulation's a little lacking, but it mostly does anything that you'd want a Green Lantern figure to do. Like you put them in a good flight pose here for kind of flying in the air through space. Could do a little bit better, but like you can still get your good flight poses. Something else I forgot to mention, actually, you can see the indentation for the ring. You can see the actual sculpting in there. Yeah, he's a very fun and necessary addition to the Green Lantern Corps, so I very much appreciate getting him. So, even with his faults, I think he's about, I would give him an 8. I feel like they landed everything that they needed to do with Guy Gardner, but they did fall short, so he's not more up there in terms of the rating, but I think they did a very good job for Guy Gardner. Like right here, he looks very nice. Granted, this doesn't come with him, this Power Blast effect, like I mentioned earlier, but I think he just is a very fun figure to mess around with a little bit. Granted, ab articulation limits your posing, but that means you can get a little bit more creative with how you pose him. I've seen worse out of McFarlane, but yeah, I think this is a good release. I feel like I mostly got my value out of this one. I feel like we could have got a little bit more for the $30, but I think this is a solid release, and I'm happy to have him. Even though he's not my favorite Green Lantern, he's one that I'm happy to own. So I don't think I could be mad at that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you around.
Absolutely. Still, we could always use more raw power. And Earth has a third Green Lantern, Guy Gardner.
No.
But we could really...
No.